All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Dojo podcast, episode 3. Today is April 6th, and we are back. We've been away for a while. Do you want to explain our absence?
Right, yeah. So we had this whole plan going. We were going to record an episode, and then it was finals week. We were going to record another one, and then even another one, so that way we would have them all lined up. We wouldn't miss a week. And then I came down with this little illness you may have heard of called the flu, and that was not an enjoyable experience. I was basically for 2 weeks, so that wasn't great. In any case, it has been 3 weeks since our last podcast, so in case you forgot, I'm Logan.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Thomas.
We're back, I guess, hopefully for the rest of the term, and then never again, but we'll see.
You know who's not coming back? Nurk.
Dude.
Choice.
All right, I guess we're just jumping right into it.
Let's get into these sports. Yeah, I don't know if everyone saw Nurkic's injuries, center for the Portland Trail Blazers, but a couple weeks ago, he kind of suffered a
during spring break last week.
Yeah, he suffered a tibia and fibia fracture, and it was not pretty. If you know the Paul George injury, it was very similar to that. So... And I don't think that he had an MRI on it or an X-ray right after the game, and it didn't look good.
Yeah, honestly though, it was it was a horrible injury, but it was almost best case scenario for that injury because if he had a shit ton of ligament damage in his ankle or something, he's out a lot longer and is. Gotta mute my phone here. He would have. Been a lot worse.
With those injuries too, another worry is that there can be potential for amputation, where the break is just because of a lack of blood supply to the extremity.
Oh wow!
And just below that, if there's enough complications, it can happen. But glad to hear that it's the best case and that he'll recover.
We wish him what's the word? Speedy. Hopefully he'll be back between Christmas and the All-Star break of next season.
Yeah,
for Portland's postseason run, because obviously KD and Clay, they're all leaving the Warriors, so that really opens up the West for the Blazers' whole ragtag crew to make a run.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to see because it was Nurk's breakout season pretty much, and he's just been playing well, and playoff implications. He was our guy. He was our center. So hopefully Cantor can step up.
On defense. He's
plenty
good on offense, but on defense he's me. Maybe a little bit better than me. So another thing that we wanted to talk about NBA-wise is the Harden versus Giannis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In fact, I've never actually heard that. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is that right? The MVP debate. How do you guys sit in this debate?
Very comfortably.
Very comfortably.
So I know there's a lot of debate, but I'm gonna have to go with Giannis because I feel like the Bucks haven't been super impressive in the past couple of years, but the Bucks have locked up the 1 seed for this year. Giannis is playing great, both on the offensive and defensive end, and I think this is his season. I think this is his first of many MVPs. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, if you couldn't tell by my obnoxious facial expressions during that commentary, I think it's Harden. Granted, let me preface this by saying I don't like him. I don't like his game. And those are the 2 points I have to make about James Harden. But I think that it's very close. I think Harden statistically is performing better. He's the difference between Harden and the second highest scoring player on their team, which is Capella, is larger than the difference between Capella and 0 points per game, which is how much I score. So, I'm in the conversation.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
I mean, Harden is very impressive on the offensive end, but sometimes people can say his defense is absent, I'll give it to him that they're in the Western Conference, and it's a tougher conference to play in. But I'm still. I pulled up some stats here. Okay, for the season, we got Giannis at 27 points.
Yeah.
12 rebounds and 6 assists.
Okay.
With 1 steal and 1 block. Harden is clocking in at 36 points per game, 6 rebounds and 7 assists.
That's pretty fucking
2 steals.
Here's
about 1 more.
Here's why I think that Giannis has a very good chance to be the MVP for a few reasons. Harden, people don't like Harden. You know, the way he plays, like me, I don't like him because he just does this shit where he'll like fucking wrap people's arms around, you know, he'll draw fouls, he'll do shit that's just kind of seen as, it's technically allowed, but you just kind of see it and you're like, oh, that's not in the spirit of the game or whatever.
Yeah.
That, also fatigue, he's been really good for like 4 straight years now or whatever, whereas Giannis, like for like 2 years is like up and up. And so people are like, we want the new guy, you know, to kind of take it over. Also, the Bucks play in the East, so they're a good record. I feel like, honestly, whatever Houston is going to finish with, like 45 wins, and then the Bucks with 60 wins. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's honestly comparable, considering that the bottom, the non-playoff teams in the East are awful, whereas in the West, the entire conference is like really good. Not all.
They're pretty solid.
Here's a fun fact: Phoenix swept Milwaukee.
This season,
they're the worst team in the West.
I guess that says something.
So yeah.
Just throw in my opinion real quick here. I also, like Logan, don't like the way that Harden plays at all. I can't really stand to watch him. But I think it would be more interesting to see a comparison of like Giannis's stats versus other players in his position. Because there's a lot of like shooting guards that have crazy point numbers and that kind of thing. So
like
I'd like
Embiid or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just see, you know, if he's really miles ahead of the other competition. Because I think for a big man, he plays power forward, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He might switch centers sometimes, but the fact that he can put up that many points, that many rebounds, assists consistently is pretty impressive. And to combine with their good record, I don't know.
I think if not this year, I feel like he's still young. I feel like he's just hitting
23 or something.
Yeah, he's just hitting his prime, and if not this year, if they give it to Harden, then like I feel like he'll take over the NBA in the next couple of years.
Yeah, in like combo with that, they're also facing Boston, who has like a lot of talent, and then Toronto, who has like a pretty good amount of talent. So it's you know, you look at on paper, to me, they're not the most talented team in the East, but they have been. So you got to look at why is that, and it's probably just the fact that Giannis is like the best player in the East, other than like maybe Kawhi, not Kyrie. So yeah. All
right, so you guys want to talk about March Madness a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this year, I guess March Madness popped off, and like every year, there's always a couple of surprises. I didn't personally make a bracket, but I followed it.
None of us did. We usually make a roomie bracket and like friends bracket, but we suck, so we didn't make one.
So I guess the Final Four. Let's just start there.
It's
happening right now. Right now, actually.
And Auburn just lost. Controversial call. This will date the podcast, which is 4-6.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if I had made a bracket, I wouldn't have predicted any of the Final Four, right? I probably would have had Duke. at least 3 1 seeds.
That's how. That's the safest bet. That's the safest bet. 4 1 seeds, because like that's not how it ever shakes out. But like safest, 1s and 2s. Like if you go beyond 1s and 2s, if you put like a 6 seed in there, it's a good fucking luck. You're not gonna get.
Exactly. I think any seed above the 6 seed actually has never won the tournament.
Above?
Yeah, so anything.
Like 7?
Yeah, 7 through 16. Never won the tournament.
Very cool.
So, and going with that, Virginia, who just made the Final Four. I mean, not the Final Four. The championship game. I wouldn't have had them because they got beat in the first round last year, and I just don't trust them.
And I watched a little bit of one of their games earlier, and I personally thought they were the weakest 1 seed out of all the 1 seeds. So for them to be the one that made it that far, that kind of
maybe they had the easiest road, if I had to guess.
And I guess one of the favorites for the tournament, Duke, knocked off by Michigan State. So
we'll see how they do later tonight.
Now, as soon as they got knocked out, ESPN pulled a switch, and they went from Duke to win the national championship to Zion #1. And so that's all we hear about is LeBron and Zion on ESPN.
Yeah.
To the end of time.
Draws a lot of comparisons to
We're about to wrap up our like sports stuff, but I just real quick wanted to talk about DeMarcus Lawrence of the Dallas Cowboys. My dad is a big Cowboys fan. Just signed a 1 year or 5-year, $100 million-ish contract, which is, it's good for both teams. He gets a lot of money guaranteed. It's like $75 million, something like that. Cowboys get like not this absurd contract. But the problem is for the Seahawks, because I just always have to plug them so that everyone knows that I'm a Seahawks fan, is that Frank Clark, although in my opinion is not as good as DeMarcus Lawrence, and in most people's opinions, he's really good, but DeMarcus Lawrence is very good. It sets the market, so it doesn't really matter if he's not as good. He's now going to want more. That's just how... You can crack the beer. It doesn't really matter. That's just how it works. So DeMarcus Lawrence making $20 million a year. Now Frank Clark's going to want 22, whereas I think he's worth 18. So, in my honest Seahawks opinion, he's probably going to be shopped before the draft, or at least I'd like him to be. Like at least test the market. See what the Seahawks can get.
Yeah. Low return on the investment.
Right. All right,
I don't have a smooth transition for that one. I was trying to piece something together, but I couldn't line it up real quick. What do we want to start with first here?
We want to talk about the saddest thing on this list.
All right, let's kill the vibe immediately. I wasn't sure how we're gonna weave this in, but I don't know how many days ago it was now. But Nipsey Hussle, West Coast California, Southern California rapper, passed away in. I don't know all the details about it now, but I believe it was, at the time, a drive-by shooting. Mm-hmm. He was outside his store, Marathon Clothing, in South Central LA. And they have the name of the suspect and everything now.
Yeah, they have him in custody.
They have him in custody, but it's just a really sad thing to see. I wasn't the biggest fan of his music. I know he stayed within, like, the Rockefeller Records camp, which is Jay-Z and, like, that whole crew, so... a lot of influential businessmen, and I know he was promoting technological innovation in impoverished areas, and like it's just really sad to see senseless murder for something that happened like 10 years ago. So
yeah, I feel like with this, like I see a lot of things where like when these rappers die and people are like, oh, they're rappers, they're doing like, things that they probably shouldn't and they end up dead. Mm-hmm. This is not one of those cases, right? This is a case of a guy who actually like genuinely does good for his community and doesn't do like necessarily like these things that are stereotypical. And so, yeah.
His most popular songs are about hard work and dedication and just like how to be a successful human being. So to have his life taken away senselessly is just tough to stomach, but
yeah, pretty rough. So rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. Yeah, thank you, Russell Westbrook, for that 20-ish.
Just hitting back on sports. Yeah.
Let's go back into our second sports segment here for the next 20 minutes.
It's a sports only podcast.
So how do we want to transition out of that?
Thomas, do you want to talk about this next one, or do you want to just like not skip that really awkward topic at all? I'll do this one. I'll let you figure it. So one thing I kind of wanted to talk about was I saw an article on Reddit. Komodo Island, famously known for the Komodo dragon, is closing to public visitation. That sounds like it's a divorce case, but it's just a tourist destination until 2020 because people kept stealing the Komodo dragons. And that is so funny to me because it's like people go there and they're just like, fuck the earth, fuck everyone, I'm stealing this man-eating pet. Like, if you want a big lizard, I've read there's like other big lizards you can buy, but why the fuck would you want a Komodo dragon other than that looks dope? Like, why wouldn't you? I don't know. They probably got their dog eaten or something by it. It's just like a classic case of dumb people being dumb. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's a human garbage move. Yeah.
That is a good. Are you transitioning to human garbage?
I was just saying that's a human garbage move.
Never mind.
I thought you were going to too. I was like,
no, I'm just saying
that was a solid transition.
Go for it.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I'll probably post that link in the comments. I think it's just really disappointing that they have to close the borders to this island just because people keep fucking stealing these animals. Like, just like chill, bro. Let them live their life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like being a decent person thing. It's like one of those things where it's like they're animals too. Yeah, don't steal anything. It's that easy. Yeah. It's all about respect.
Go ahead, big guy.
Yeah, let's do it now. You know who are not decent human beings? The following people.
Wait.
So,
I thought you highlighted.
Yeah, I highlighted this one. So this next segment, I call it the Lactose Intolerance Diaries because our guy Kyle, he's lactose intolerant, and I'm, as they say, un poco lactose intolerant. That means a little.
I believe that's Mandarin. Can we get a fact check?
Can we get a fact check? Let's get the intern to fact check that. But I'm a little bit lactose intolerant. It's only if I indulge. I have
only if you eat 10 pounds of ice cream.
I eat 10 pounds.
It's kind of
it's kind of the same.
Lactose intolerance.
Yeah, exactly. If I have a lot of cheese and I have a pint of chocolate milk, it's a beatbox session in the bathroom. Let's just leave it there.
Squashing tomatoes.
Yeah. So that kind of begs the question: what foods are worth destroying the toilet?
Okay,
Let's start with Kyle here.
There's only one that's truly worth the agony and the misery, and that's ice cream. It's just so tasty. Nothing can really replace it. There are substitutes, but I don't know. Lactose-free ice cream is getting pretty good. I've tried the Ben & Jerry's lactose-free, and taste-wise, it's almost 100% there, but texture-wise, I find it to be a little bit gritty, not as smooth. So that's my personal opinion. Cheese and that kind of thing, I can, for the most part, live without or use the direct substitutes. So
speaking of gritty, and I'll mute this because this is horribly inappropriate.
All right, so I'll just go in with my worth it's. Chocolate milk, ice cream, cheese. That's my trifecta.
I was just making more work for myself by throwing that little factoid in there.
So how about you, Logan? Let's say I know you're not lactose intolerant per se, but let's just say if you were, what would be?
So if I had I really like.
Put you on the spot right here.
Yeah, you're really putting me on the spot here because I'm not lactose intolerant. I like ice cream, but I feel like I could do without it. I haven't eaten ice cream in a while since I went to Salt and Straw.
Ooh, yeah.
That was 2 weeks ago, so that's not a very good example. But before that, it was almost a month. So it was so long. Ice cream,
live with or without it. Yeah, cheese is good.
I don't think I would just be I'm lactose intolerant. Let me fucking depends on how lactose.
Yeah, you can be the one person who eats one piece of cheese and you're
become you got
blowing up
stung
the toilet.
by bees.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so yeah, that's
that's our toilet talk.
I guess
so. A little blowing up the bathroom.
One thing that I wanted to talk about. We're kind of alternating back and forth here between the serious topics and the less serious topics. The next one I want to talk about was Article 13. Have you guys read anything about this thing in Europe?
I've heard about it, but I haven't done a lot of
Why don't you do a
search
little
into
bit
it?
of
Give us a little brief.
Absolutely. So this actually happened a couple weeks ago, so it's not entirely topical. But basically, the EU Parliament just passed this kind of law, and part of it is this Article 13, where it puts all of the liability for copywritten content on the hosting. So on YouTube, if you posted a movie, YouTube is liable to be sued. Whereas in the US, if you posted that same movie to YouTube, they would just be hey, that's our movie. And YouTube would be all right, we'll take it down. And then that's the end of the story. But in the EU, we'll see, how this will shake out. PewDiePie, who I don't know if he's still the biggest YouTuber. T-Series passed him, but I think PewDiePie then repassed.
PewDiePie, yeah.
Let's just say it's PewDiePie because he's Swedish and it works for the story. So he does this thing where he posts memes and shit, which most memes, if you're familiar, are based off of copywritten shows and movies and stuff like that. And so in this Article 13 world, any site like Facebook or YouTube could theoretically be liable for a lawsuit if they even allow the upload. So YouTube either you can't upload in Europe, or you have to spend such amounts of money to create a filter so that way the copywritten content.
Some sort of review.
Now, one thing that I thought was interesting is a lot of these lawmakers are like, oh, we wanted to add this so that these big companies like YouTube are broken up because they have to spend these monies on the filters. But what's interesting is the small companies that are competing with YouTube, they can't fucking afford this content, this copywritten filter, so they fucking go out of business. But YouTube can. So it will almost have the opposite effect of breaking up these large content distributors, and so these small ones can't compete. Thoughts?
You spewed a lot of this, but
I think there's some sweet irony, and I saw memes about the actual passing of this law, and it appeared that some of the individuals who were responsible for signing it didn't fully understand how the internet works to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think that there's some irony in putting those people in charge of the committee or whatever that makes those decisions. So that's something we should.
I saw something that said this German, I don't know, and I probably won't be able to fact check it because it was like so long ago. But this like European politician said he typed his name into Google, and one of the autocorrect, like the 6 autocorrect results was his name and then the word memes. And so his argument is that if Google can autocorrect to memes, they can tell what's a meme and they can remove it from the internet. Clearly doesn't know anything about anything. But he's the lawmaker, so he can do
this
that.
kind of reminds me... Oh, sorry. I just want to throw this in there real quick.
It
reminds me of the whole Mark Zuckerberg situation with Facebook. How there was a bunch of... I don't even know who they were. Senators asking him, like, oh, so is this the thing that the Facebook does? And he was just so visually, obviously confused that these people were even asking him these ridiculous questions. So... This just reminds me of that, but it's across the pond now. So. Yeah,
I think it's a generational thing, and I think it's just them not being able to keep up with, the concept of...
Well, the people who are voting on these laws I don't want to be like ageist and be like, these old fuckers voting on the law.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously very intelligent, but...
They just didn't grow up with the internet and these technologies, yet they're the ones voting on it, so... moral of the story, vote.
And you know what gets my vote for Trader Joe's food item of the week? The chicken tiki samosas. Now... Tikka. Damn it, I messed it up.
He was rehearsing.
I know, I was so focused on how I was going to say it. Anyways, they're these little pastry wrapped...
Do you happen to have an example here?
No, because Vincent, shout out Vincent, I said his name like 3 times there, was the first one to purchase them, and they were absolutely delicious.
Fire, that nani.
Yes,
Woody together.
I agree. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing multiple boxes. My only complaint is their serving size wasn't that big.
Well, that's like every company. They're like, the serving size is only 200 calories. Did we mention there's 18 servings for only like 17? Like they try and to keep their calories per servings low. They make the servings. There's like a shit ton of servings in each container, and so it's like, I don't think I can get 1 serving out of this.
Yeah.
All right.
You got a little prop.
I got my prop. My item of the week: Cowboy Bark. The Trader Joe's Cowboy Bark.
A little easier to pronounce.
Yeah, a little bit.
One of our viewers sent this in.
One of our viewers sent this. Shout out Sammy for sending us the Cowboy Bark.
Are we having some right now?
Yeah, we're having some right now. Let's do it. I mean, you guys haven't had any, so we'll taste test.
Let's show the. No, actually, I'll pull one out and do it.
Do a little. You guys.
You pull out that, and then I'll give us a little. Yeah, so it can focus.
Take the first bite.
I'll just explain the item. So dark chocolate with toffee, pretzels, Dojo cookies, peanuts, almonds, and a sprinkling of salt.
Here's a better.
Focus.
Hold on.
Look at where the physical camera is.
There.
You gotta get it.
Alright, that's enough of that.
Fine.
Yeah, but I've had these before, and I think it's fire. Yeah, it's really good.
Open.
The bag is open. Yeah, it's really good. It has,
I really like this. I don't know how it's going to mix well with my beer.
The thing with these is they have like they have a bunch of different textures and flavor profiles, which I mess with. Oh.
I messed up. It's all right.
Yeah, but and there's like a salty bite element to it, and you know it's great.
Very tasty.
Not too heavy, not too bad on the calories.
No,
but yeah, it's delicious. Would buy again.
You know, speaking of cowboys, actually, one of our favorite songs this week has a nice little western country flair, and that's going to be "Old Town Road."
That was god tier transition.
So
Old Town Road by Lil Nas X.
Shout out Lil Nas X if you're watching this podcast.
I don't know how you found it. I don't know why you're watching it.
You have better things to do with your time.
Yeah, but you're great. I love your music. Your one song that I've listened to.
Yeah, we don't know if you have any other songs actually, but
I checked.
Does he?
He's featured on one other song.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, you know who's featured on a remix of this song is Billy Ray Cyrus. Man, I am just on fire with it.
So a controversy with the song actually is something that we should talk about. Ooh. So this song is like, he actually describes himself, and apologize if I misquote it. He described it as country trap.
I believe that is what I heard too.
But what happened earlier this week actually was they removed it from the country charts. Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
I think the new remix is more country. Mm-hmm. I think just because he's talking about horses and shit. I think the new remix is country. I think the original's not. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that he just basically used a 9 Inch Nails sample and then like sang/rapped over it with like about horses and tractors and shit. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's country. I don't know. I don't really listen to country, so I don't know. But I'd say it's not. But the new one is because Billy Ray Cyrus is a
he's a country legend. He's a country legend.
Oh yeah, Acre Breaky Heart, and that's the only one I can name.
I think the precedence that this sets is more of a bigger issue. I'm not so familiar with other songs that have been directly removed from a chart like this, and it doesn't necessarily help the situation from a race perspective as well as the actual music genre perspective. Because if you look at hip-hop's influence within even the country landscape, there are very popular country songs now that have 808s in them. So it's pretty ridiculous to assume that, you know, a country song can't sound like this. And I would tend to agree, though, that it is a hip-hop song with country elements rather than
a country song with hip-hop elements.
But I think I'm with Kyle here where it's like, where's the boundaries? A good point. I'm pretty sure I was talking to you about this earlier this week. Whereas there's songs in like the hip-hop top 10 and things like that where it's more pop. I don't think we should just list the specific songs.
We'll just do the one good example. The top song right now, at least at the time we talked about this, was Sunflower on the hip-hop charts, and that is a perfect rendition. Yeah, there we go.
We're gonna get a copyright strike.
Article 13. It's very much a pop song. It's not a hip-hop song. There might be like...
It's like half of...
I mean, there's rapping on it, but where do you draw the line where it's like, this is pop, this is hip-hop? I mean, there can be a mesh in between, like country trap.
It just shows hip-hop's influence across multiple genres, but...
I guess overall, it's a fucking dope song. It's a good meme song, and I'm going to be listening to it at least a few times this summer because it's nice and summery.
Until we get sick of it.
Pretty much what happens
with any song we listen to.
All right, you want to end on this last one here?
Yeah, let's go right here.
Yeah, we can talk about Cinco mode. Actually, that was really bad. I'm sorry.
This guy said Cinco mode. Cinco de Mayo.
Deceased.
I'm deceased.
So, our sink, the sink head, the way you pull it out, and you have the sprayer so you can wash your pans a little bit.
You've got to pull out.
You have to pull out.
To any kids listening, pull out.
I hope no kids are listening to this. The sprayer, the hose ripped. So basically, anytime we would turn the sink on, even if we didn't pull the hose out, it was leaking water down below. And it was a huge pain in the butt. Our landlord came and fixed it. Thank you.
Shout out to Gene.
Shout out, Gene, if you're watching this.
I don't know why the hell you're watching this.
Eric.
Shout out Eric, too. Yeah, but we realized how big of an inconvenience it was, like having to pull it out and just do everything it just made us realize how much we take things for granted.
Yeah, it pretty much decommissioned the sink, and it's like little things like washing your pots and pans, rinsing out bowls
filling
and plates,
the Brita.
filling the
When this
Brita.
first happened, I was like, all right, guys, I hope you're ready to fill the Brita in the fucking bathtub. Like, that was like how low I was willing to stoop.
So just, puts it in perspective, all the little things that we take for granted in our lives, and,
There are starving children in Africa where their sinks are broken all the time.
The shower thing actually reminds me of my grandpa in Vietnam. Shout out to, I actually don't know my grandpa's name now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh.
Big fuck up.
My grandpa's name is Claude and Dick. Claude and Dick.
Alright, you're gonna have to bleep that.
Shout out Mom and Dad.
I don't know his name, actually. I'm trying to think of it.
This is really going down.
This is really going down.
Yeah, we're like 2 minutes over.
Speaking of taking things for granted, whenever I would visit he lives in Vietnam, so whenever I go back there as a kid, yeah, that's why I don't know his name.
That's so weird.
So how you take a shower there, or how we would back then, like back in like 2010
back
or whatever.
Like when you visited this.
Yeah, back in the Viet Cong days. Yeah.
With Agent Orange.
Yeah. So how you did it is you had a big bucket, like a 20-gallon bucket. And you had like a scooper. Yeah, you had a scooper that was like a half-gallon.
Like a ladle?
Yeah, like a ladle.
Oh,
yeah,
cool,
and you would scoop into the big-ass bucket, and you would take this cold-ass water, because they didn't have water heaters.
Right. They don't have ice either.
They don't have ice either.
They don't in Africa as well.
Quick tip, if you have the ice in Vietnam, you will get diarrhea. Just
so
a quick
about
tip.
the lactose intolerance thing?
Yeah, if you
it
have...
all wraps around.
We're
tying all of our topics
Lactose
together.
intolerance is a flat circle. So you scoop the water and you just dump it on yourself. It's ice cold water. I mean, it's hot as fuck in Vietnam, so I mean, it's fine, but I mean, it's terrible. Thinking about, going from that to going back home and having like a nice warm shower, that reminded me of the like convenience piece. So quick
like
tangent
the ice
story
in
time.
Vietnam and the lactose intolerance. This has been a shit show. Thank you for watching the Dojo Podcast, episode 3. We hope you'll join us next week.
Catch us episode 4, where we don't talk about Africa anymore.
Or diarrhea.